Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for those beautiful prayers. And as we begin our today's session, पिछली बार तो धृतराष्ट्र ने he set out his anxieties. What's next, Prabhu? What happens next? What does he ask? Or what does Sanjay say in response?
Okay, so let's take a ball by ball account, because anyways we have set into the stadium, cricket stadium, तो थोड़ा एक ball by ball ब्यौरा हम प्रस्तुत करते हैं कि next ball पे क्या हुआ. So on the first ball, on the first verse, धर्म क्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्र सामवेता युयुत्सवा मामका पांडवश्चैव किम अकुर्वत संजय. Dhritarashtra is here inquiring in the kshetra, in this field, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a Dharma Kshetra, what happened? What did my sons and the sons of Pandu, those Pandavas, do? So, because Kshetra also implies an agricultural field, so ये जो field है, इस field में, in an agricultural field, there are the desirable plants and fruit trees, and then there are weeds. So Dhritarashtra wanted to know who were the weeds, whether my sons would be the weeds or the Pandavas would be the weeds which will be eliminated, and which will be the plant which will flourish and prosper. So that was the anxiety of Dhritarashtra at the outset. And the first thing is he asked, what did my sons, Kauravas, and the sons of Pandu do? So Sanjay has to answer this question, right? So he takes the camera on Duryodhan. What does Duryodhan do at this point of time? Duryodhan is at his diplomatic best. Duryodhan is at his best of diplomacy and politics. He's actually Vidura, actually Sanjaya calls him here Raja. A Raja is someone who is expert at Rajniti, right? So only someone who is a Raja knows how to do Rajniti. So here Duryodhan has been called by the name Raja. So what does the Raja do? He first of all turns to Dronacharya. And looking at Dronacharya, he is trying to actually, just like a captain of the team, wants to motivate his team members. So he is like a motivational speaker getting up on the stage, and he's trying to give a pep talk. He's trying to give a pep talk to try to pump up the adrenaline, to pump up the enthusiasm and the daredevilry from amongst his ranks. And first, now this is very interesting, whom he approaches first. He has Bhishma, he has Drona, he has Karna, and so many others. He first approaches Drona. And what does he tell Drona? Drona, my dear Guru, you see, Tava Shishyena Dhimata, he tells Dronacharya that, you see who is actually the commander-in-chief of, who is actually the commander-in-chief who is arranging all the military in the opposite camp. It is your disciple Drishtadyumna. So you knew that Drishtadyumna is going to is born specifically to kill you, and still you are so foolish that you trained him in the best of military arts. So enough of this kind of foolish, righteous behavior. मतलब ये बहुत आपने moral standards बहुत high करके रखे हुए हैं. Don't be too righteous. Don't be too honest. Come on, your honesty is not going to work on the battlefield. So he's trying to, somehow or other, trying to get his way so that Dronacharya learns politics and diplomacy the way he is political and diplomatic. And so he wanted to, also ensure that all the partiality that Drona might have should be removed. All the partiality that Drona might have towards his favorite students, the Pandavas, should be chucked off. So therefore he is using inciting language. He's saying that, look, तुम्हारे student Drishtadyumna ने ये सामने वाली army तैयार की है. So because you chose to train this Drishtadyumna, so therefore he is standing in front of us. Similarly, you have trained that Arjuna, and therefore he is a great threat. But whatever is done is done. Now, please don't show any partiality towards the Pandavas. And then he makes another diplomatic move. So I'm sure you could grasp this first diplomatic move. The first move was to somehow, in concealed words, convey to Dronacharya that enough of your honesty and morality. Now keep that aside. Now don't any further indulge in any partiality or any compassion for Arjuna or all the Pandavas. Now let us play the game with whatever it requires. With whatever diplomacy is needed, let's do it. And then he's trying to corner Drona. Further on, he tells that, there are so many others like Bhavan, Bhishmascha, Karnascha. मेरे पास ऐसा नहीं है आप अकेले हैं. I am not dependent on you completely. So मेरे पास भीष्मा भी है, मेरे पास कर्णा भी है और बहुत सारे warriors है. So in one sense, sometimes imagine a situation where a boss is trying to corner you. When a boss is trying to corner an employee, saying that, don't think that you are my only ace card. मेरे पास और भी बहुत सारे हुकुम के इक्के हैं टीम में. So you better try to follow what I say, otherwise I have other people. So this is again another kind of diplomatic pressure which he's trying to create, and he's trying to attack the sentiments of Drona, so that either so that he gives up his partiality and that he gives his best into the battle. So generally, there's this policy which is used is to arouse feelings of competitiveness in a team. To वो एक स्कोर कार्ड दिखाते हैं, ये एम्प्लॉय ने इतना परफॉर्म किया, ये एम्प्लॉय ने इतना परफॉर्म किया, and then it's all visible. So then the one who is at the bottom, automatically they are given a mirror. देखो, better you perform well. So here, in various ways, Duryodhana is employing diplomacy and politics. And if that was not enough, if this much was not enough, what he further does is very amusing. He's saying that, okay, I have given my first attention to Dronacharya. But in the back of his mind, he's thinking that, there is Bhishma also, and I should not in any way minimize the position of Bhishma. So I need to appease him also. I need to convey my dependence on Bhishma also and Drona also. So he says, अभी Bhishma को लगेगा कि मैं उनको भाव नहीं दे रहा हूँ. So now let me appease a little bit Bhishma also. So then he says, so all of you, all my great warriors who have come here to give up your lives for me, you should all rally around Bhishma. You should all support Bhishma and protect Bhishma because he is our commander-in-chief. So in this way, just like politicians do, they will say कि we are with this community also, and then we are with that community also, because हमको दोनों के votes चाहिए. We are really not interested in the actual welfare of these communities, but हमको vote दोनों का चाहिए, right? So in that sense, he's showing himself to be a great politician. Probably if he was today, he could have easily, taken to power.
Prabhu, very interesting. A few words you've mentioned here. First is diplomacy and appeasement. Yeah. First to Drona, who's the commander-in-chief and who's also the teacher of the Pandavas and the Kauravas, and then to Bhishma, and also a pep talk where he tells everyone, he induces everyone to be competitive. So here, Prabhu, in our practical life, even when in colleges, in offices, we see that bhai, thoda diplomacy to required hai. The straight trees are cut first. This is what we've been taught right from the beginning. Don't be too straight. Don't be too honest. You have to be a little diplomatic because you are in the real world. So how much diplomacy is required? Do I completely be a sly fox? Do I completely be a humble cow? What do I do? Or is there a balance? Is there a thin line? How do you make sense of it, Prabhu?
Thank you, Jai Kishan Prabhu, for this very fantastic question. And I guess many of our audience is very eager to see how this diplomacy does it have a role in our lives, and if so, how much? Because we have two experiences. One experience is when we are at the receiving end, when someone has been diplomatic with us, and at the end of the day we realize, array, that person, he or she actually manipulated me. So we feel a sense of disrespect. We feel a sense of being cheated or manipulated. कि अरे बोलना था तो सीधा ही बता देते ना, ये घुमा फिरा के की करने की क्या जरूरत थी? So we feel hurt. So transparency is very important in relationships because transparency is the mother of trust. And diplomacy is some, kind of brings in a screen, which actually compromises the transparency and then ultimately compromises trust. Yeah. So in that sense, so therefore, it's a tightrope walk. When we are at the receiving end of someone being diplomatic to us, we find, probably next time I won't trust that person again. But then what if we are stuck in a situation where if I'm not diplomatic, then I may, lose something, or I may have something at stake, right? So both these situations are there. And actually in the Mahabharata, on the battlefield, the situation where Karna was, the fall of Karna in that section. And on that day, Karna brutally attacked Yudhishthir, and Yudhishthir became unconscious, and then he had to be taken out of the battlefield to recover from his wounds. And when Arjuna came to know about this, he immediately told Krishna, Krishna, drive my chariot straight over to the place Yudhishthir is wounded. And because he was very anxious, I can't go in the battlefield without knowing the well-being of Yudhishthir. And then Krishna takes the chariot there, and Yudhishthir, he's like, for a warrior, the wound of being defeated is greater than the physical wounds. So he's burning with the wound of being defeated by Karna. The physical wounds don't trouble him so much. And so as soon as he sees Arjuna, he is lit up with smile that my brother has taken revenge and he is coming back. He must have killed and decimated that Karna. But then he asks him, so is Karna dead? And Arjuna tells, no, actually, I could not, make peace with your being so brutally wounded. I just first came to see you. And at that time, Yudhishthir Maharaj, he accuses Arjuna that what kind of a warrior are you? You have been boasting about this Gandiva, throw it away. It is a toy. So like that, because he's having a lot of pent up anger, which he's releasing on Arjuna. And then Arjuna has this vow that anyone who criticizes my Gandiva, I'll kill him. So he says, Yudhishthir Maharaj, please don't spell a word more, otherwise I'll kill you. And then, there's this thing which is going on. And Krishna says, come on, settle down, peace be upon you. You are here to fight another enemy. You are not enemies. And then Arjuna says, but I have taken a vow to kill anyone. So then Krishna says that yes, truthfulness is a great virtue, but in three situations, you can compromise on being truthful. Number one, when you have to save, when three things are at stake, when your life is at stake, when your marriage is at stake, and then when your wealth is at stake. So you see businessmen, if they are completely truthful, that they tell you कि नहीं ये ईयरफोन ये आईफोन मतलब जो भी है मुझे तो आधे प्राइस में मिलता है, आपको मैं डबल में बेचता हूँ, right? If they are truthful, they are not going to make business. So therefore, for wealth, for earning wealth for business, there is some acceptable diplomacy. Similarly, for saving a marriage, a wife has asked her husband, सच बताओ मैं कैसी दिखती हूँ? अरे ब्रह्मांड सुंदरी लगती हो. Then she said, अच्छा तब तो मैं तुम्हारे सपनों में आती होंगी, सच बताना. Then he said, okay, probably एक के बाद एक क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं तो अभी मैं ज्यादा let me tell the truth. He said नहीं मैं सपनों में नहीं आती आप. तो अच्छा क्यों नहीं आती, इतनी सुंदर हो तो? So he said नहीं मैं रात को हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ के सोता हूँ ना, वो भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, तो इसके लिए. So and the next day he was found in the hospital with a drip and everything. But anyhow, so to save marriage, Krishna says you have to sometimes tell a lie or be diplomatic, right? Basically, that's not considered a lie. That's considered for a higher principle. A small lie can be the guardian for a bigger principle in that situation and for protecting a life. And then Krishna gives the example of a hermit who was living in a particular in his hut in the forest, and he saw a person rushing into his hut, and following behind him were certain rogues and rascals who were chasing him with knives in their hand. So the man rushed inside, and then the hermit saw what is happening. And then these rogues came in, and they said, so where is that person who is running? Did you see someone? So he was thinking for a while, should I tell the truth or not? So then he said, no, I am a sage. How can I tell a lie? He said, yes, I saw them. Where did he go? Oh, he has entered my hut. Go there. So what else will they do? They entered the hut and butchered this Brahmana, who had entered this hermit's hut. And later this hermit, his name is Kaushik, he found himself in hell after the end of his life. And then he questioned the Yamaraj that why am I in hell? Yamaraj told him, for speaking the truth. Because you don't understand that for a higher principle, a lower principle can be adjusted. So therefore we have, so yes, definitely living in the day-to-day world, there is scope for diplomacy. When a mother, she has to give a bitter medicine to the child, but she knows the child is not going to even look at the bitter medicine. What she does, what are her options? She can't tell him that, okay, this medicine, she can't give her an explanation that nahi, ye medicine tumhare liye acha hai, tumhari tabiyat theek ho jayegi, tumhe fever hai. No, the child won't understand. So she puts that bitter medicine in a nice laddu. And in that nice favorite laddu for the child, bundi laddu or whichever, she feeds that medicine, and the child immediately eats it happily, not knowing at all that he actually took the medicine which he would not otherwise have taken. And eventually he's cured of this disease and he's happy. So now, did the mother manipulate the child? No, that was necessary for the welfare of the child. So therefore, we see that both situations, when we are at the receiving end, we feel hurt, we feel manipulated, we feel cheated if someone does it to us. But at the same time, we see there are situations where this diplomacy is essential, right? Do you agree, Jai Kishan?
Yes, Prabhu, of course. And you've given us three things when they are at stake. Only then can you speak a lie. But yes, of course, I won't interrupt you. I'll keep that for the summary. I want you
Okay.
to continue, Prabhu.
Okay. So thank you for the go ahead. And I hope you're not giving a diplomatic answer.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay, not it. I'm waiting for that to come in. Okay. So yes, there are situations where this could be hurtful and harmful, and at the same time there are situations where it could be helpful. So we really need to understand what diplomacy is and when to use and when not to use, right? So like I was just thinking, what does, like when I was reading through this Duryodhan's entire maneuvering, I was thinking, what is this diplomacy all about? So diplomacy is like masking a truth or your emotions and intentions for on purpose. So basically you mask a truth, there's some truth which you don't reveal, which you hide, or you hide your feelings and emotions. Inside you feel something else, outside you speak something else, or you don't reveal your intentions, but on purpose. A classical example would be, nice doggy, till the time you find a good rock. So did you get it? अगर आपके पीछे कोई कुत्ता पड़ा है, हाँ, तो उसको बोलेगा nice doggy, because you don't have anything to confront it till the time you see a rock near you and उठा के मारने का, right? So that is diplomacy. You are internally having anger towards that dog who is chasing you, but what is the best strategy to kind of steer clear of this? So पहला जो स्ट्रेटेजी है वो नाइस डॉगी के प्रेम से कुछ समझा के, वो नहीं वर्क कर रहा है, पत्थर मिला मारो. So diplomacy can be defined as masking a truth or your feelings and your intentions on purpose, right? Another thing, use your emotions or speech as a tool. Use it as a tool to kind of lead someone or shepherd someone into making a decision or an opinion, or taking some action. So basically you can, for example, the way Kaikai did it. So Kaikai, she used her emotions to shepherd or lead Dashrath Maharaj into taking an action or making a decision. Like diplomatically, she called him inside the Kopa Bhavan, right? So in that sense, basically you either mask your emotions or your feelings, something else outside, something else inside, right? Or you mask a truth. You tell a lie or hide a truth, basically, for a given purpose. So the common thing in both of these definitions is purpose. So masking a truth. So if that Brahmana would have stopped those thieves and lied to those thieves and told them, no, I didn't see any person running in to my hut. So that was a blatant lie. पर वो जो झूठ था, वो that was a higher truth than what he spoke. Right? So in that situation, the purpose defines whether the lie you are speaking or the emotions that you are masking, is it justified or not. Got it? So it is not about telling a lie or a truth. It is a purpose behind either of the two. So we discussed that how someone can shepherd. Someone shepherd मतलब जो एक shepherd रहता है वो किसको lead करता है? Sheep को, right? So if you have that experience कि someone is shepherding you, someone is leading you into making a decision, manipulating you, you feel bad about it, right? You feel hurt. Even sheep don't like to be shepherded. they don't have an option. What to speak of humans? So therefore, we need to be extra careful about how, like, in what such circumstances we use that tool of diplomacy. And in order to explain this, do I have the permission to use a whiteboard?
Prabhu, can I deny you the permission?
Uh,
Not at all, right?
I was asking a diplomatic question.
Yes,
Okay.
your whiteboard is visible now.
Great. Okay, so let me stop. Okay. So here you have. Yes. So here you have two things. Let me put up here. Okay. So okay, so now if you got this, you have been able to you can understand when and how to use diplomacy and when and how not. So here, this first thing, so there are these four alternatives where truth is your purpose, a higher principle is your purpose, or lie is your purpose. Your principle, like your selfishness, is your purpose. Right here, selfishness is your purpose. On the right side, selflessness is your purpose, which I call as the truth, because truth cannot be selfish. Truth is selfless. Truth doesn't have any hidden personal agenda, right? Whereas lie has its own personal agendas. So therefore, when you have truth or selflessness as your purpose, that's one option. Another is when you have lie or some selfish agenda as your purpose. Then you can use truth as a tool, or you can use lie as a tool. So let me, so this is called integrity. So we will be able to understand this in a while. Okay. So this is diplomacy. Lie as a tool. This is this you can call lie as purpose. Lie as tool is what can I call it? Fraud. And this is So now I think you can get a little more sense of what I'm talking of. So when you use, when your purpose is selflessness and truth, and you use truth as the tool to attain your purpose, you never give up the path of truth, and your goal is also truth. When the path is truth and the goal is truth, that is integrity. Then, comes diplomacy. Diplomacy when truth is your purpose, but lie is a tool. So as we gave the example of that Brahmana, that hermit, who, if he would have said the lie, used lie as a tool to ultimately attain the purpose of protecting that Brahmana, right? Then his lie would have been an ornament, right? So that is diplomacy. Third one is, so this one is first, second, third. So in third, when lie is your purpose and lie is your tool. So probably in the case of Duryodhan, this was a scenario. The purpose was selfless and he was on the battlefield. He was using lie as a tool. He was somehow trying to appease Dronacharya. He was trying to appease Bhishma also. He was trying to appease Karna also, all in one go. But he himself was not having any inner respect. He was masking his feelings. Internally, he was having contempt towards Drona, contempt towards Bhishma. But externally, he was showing as if he respects them a lot. So that is fraud. He was a fraudster. So it was not actually diplomacy. It was fraud. Then when your lie is the purpose, but you use truth as a tool, this is even worse. When you use truth in the service of a lie, that's even more kind of deadly. Let me think of an example for this. When you use truth as a tool for a selfish agenda. Yeah, sometimes this could be done to incite people for some truths or fact can be told to actually incite anger and violence in others. But so this hypocrisy is worst of all. So which quadrant should we be in ideally? Yes, Jai Kishan?
The first seems the best case scenario, where ideally we should be. But if not that, the second one, that is the truth as a purpose and lie as a tool, maybe to be a little more diplomatic with truth as the purpose of it, seems to be the better ones.
Okay. So yes, so truth as a purpose and truth as the tool, that's the best case scenario. So which we always will prefer. But there are certain situations in which you will have to go into the second quadrant. Now, like definitely we understand that the third and fourth quadrants are not where we want to be, consciously or unconsciously. Keertilata ji is asking example for integrity, truth as purpose and truth as tool. That was Yudhishthir Maharaj. He was always, truth was his purpose and he always spoke the truth. But there were certain situations where he should have spoken a lie, or where he should have been a little bit diplomatic, such as when he was asked to come for gambling match. So he should have denied, because even other seniors were telling him, Vidura was telling, don't go for this. But then he took that truth as the tool, made it bigger than the truth as the purpose. So we need to see if truth as the tool is bigger than, becomes bigger than the truth as a purpose, and it overcasts the purpose, then that kind of truth should be, kind of adjusted. So therefore, if Yudhishthir had been a little bit diplomatic, which he later learned his lessons and he knew how to be a bit diplomatic later on. So all of us have to learn our lessons, but we need to be carefully choosing quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 should not be recklessly used. We can justify that, okay, my purpose is truth, so I can use lie as a tool. But there are certain conditions which we should very carefully see before we use it. So the first one is, has the other party ever used lie as a tool against us? Or is the other party having lie as their purpose? So if that is the case, if that is the scenario, then only are we justified to actually think of this option. If the other party has always been truthful to us, then better to go on the table and have a discussion with them. Because the other party is also straightforward. So we don't need a lie to fix the issues. When we have a conversation and communication going, all those problems can be ironed out. So the first one is, has the other party ever used craftiness or diplomacy on you? If not, then we don't have diplomacy as an option. Then we have to have conversation, a dialogue, not diplomacy, right? And but if someone has been using craftiness or diplomacy on us, then we stand the moral ground to actually use it in times of need. So that's the first criteria. And in case of Pandavas, it was amply done by Duryodhana. They were cheated, manipulated, attacked a number of times, and therefore they had moral ground. And therefore Krishna actually utilized some trickery to make the Pandavas defeat the Kauravas, right? So therefore the first thing is, have they been immoral? If they have been immoral, if they have been using debauchery and other things, then you can't जैसे आपने कहा सीधे पेड़ पहले कट जाएंगे, right? So that's the first thing. Second is, you also see that is the lie which you are using as a tool bigger than the true purpose, which means like if you are using you are compromising on a bigger principle for a smaller principle, right? आप एक झूठ बोल रहे हो परंतु वो किसके लिए? For a small thing, for a small paltry simple thing. If you are telling a lie, we should always ensure that the truth as purpose should be greater than lie as a tool. So you can always compromise on a smaller principle for a bigger principle, but not the other way around. We cannot compromise a bigger principle for a smaller principle. तो ब्राह्मणा के केस में जिसको मारने वो आए थे hermits, in that situation the purpose was saving his life, and the lie was a small lie कि वो नहीं दिखा मुझे. It was not a big lie, it was a small lie, and that too he was telling a small lie to big thieves and rogues. So therefore it was justified. But now think if the situation is different. If the police is running after a thief, a criminal, a murderer, right? So in that situation, his purpose is if the thief comes in and he tells him that, okay, I want to take shelter of you, please give me protection. And he says, okay, come into my hermitage. And then behind him come the police, and police tell him and give him the evidence कि वो murder करके आया. And at that time he says, नहीं, I have given a vow to this person, so I will use a lie. I will tell to the police that no, I didn't see him. So his tool was a bigger lie than the purpose, which was a small truth. So therefore, if we want to be in this area, whereas where the truth of purpose is greater than lie as tool, we don't want to be in this one. Okay, so this is the second consideration, and and third consideration is, have we invested enough truth in the other person? So if I have invested enough truth in the other person, then that person can overlook my lie and say कि अरे इसने मुझे इतनी बार सच बोला है, तो एक बार अगर झूठ बोल भी दिया तो भी I understand कुछ तो वजह रही होगी, उसका कुछ intention अलग रहा होगा, purpose अलग रहा होगा. But if you have a history of not investing truth, then let's not repeal the faith or trust further. So first criteria is, if you are indulging in a small lie, think about whether you have invested enough truth in the other person, because a lie, you cannot hide a lie forever. A lie cannot last forever, because even the people with the best of memories forget which lie they had spoken to which person at what time, right? So therefore, today or tomorrow, it will come out. So lie runs sprint, 100-meter sprint, but truth runs marathons. In the short term, your lie may run fast and achieve the purpose, but in the long run ना, वो पीछे जो कछुआ, truth का कछुआ धीरे धीरे चलते हुए आ रहा है, it will catch over the fast lie. It is said a lie can go around the world in while the truth is just tying its laces to prepare for running. But then eventually when truth starts running, it catches up. So therefore, we need to have discretion, that we don't use it indiscriminately, because eventually our trust in that person should not be lost. That person should have the trust and faith ki, okay, even if that person has spoken a lie, it must have a higher purpose, right? Otherwise, what happens, from the next time, even your truths may go through a filter of distrust, right? Next time you are telling a truth, you are paying a price by telling a lie now indiscriminately, because future में आपका truth भी वो एक शक की नजर से जाएगा, डाउट की नजर से जाएगा कि मे बी उसने उस सिचुएशन में झूठ बोला था, अभी भी झूठ बोल सकता है, right? And then you also need to see, is lying becoming a habit? So do I think twice before resorting to diplomacy, or am I doing it unconsciously? So if diplomacy is becoming a habit, it's an alarm sign, it's an alarm warning. You know why? Because if diplomacy is becoming your second nature, you are not only going to manipulate others, but gradually you are going to manipulate and cheat yourself. You are going to trick yourself. And then you also don't know whether you are telling a lie to yourself or telling a truth to yourself, right? Because it has become your second nature. Without your knowing, your brain starts taking to diplomacy. So therefore, we need to very cautiously be aware that, am I using diplomacy too often and kind of becoming habituated? Otherwise, I will become self-deceptive. I will start deceiving myself. And then last thing is that we see that how do I feel when someone does diplomacy unto me? So because we should know that genuine dealings attract genuine people, and crooked dealings attract crooked people. So you look at the Pandavas, anyone who joined the Pandava army was having a genuine relationship with them. Their only purpose for fighting that battle was their love and respect for the Pandavas. So I said that genuine dealings attract genuine relationships, and crooked dealings attract crooked relationships, crooked people. So you look in the Pandavas army, each and every single person who was there on the side of the Pandavas was there out of their love and respect for the Pandavas. Their only purpose for being there was the victory of the Pandavas. They didn't have any selfish agenda, because the Pandavas were straightforward, they were genuine. So they attracted genuine people. The Kauravas, on the other hand, Duryodhana he didn't care a penny for anyone else. It was his choice, it was his desire, it was his greed, it was his ego, which was the only important thing. And for that ego, he was ready to trade off anyone's life. So therefore, the kind of people he attracted, their purpose was not genuine love and respect for Duryodhana. It was everyone on the Kaurav army had their own selfish agenda. Even say Karna came to Duryodhana's side not out of genuine affection and respect because he wanted to prove himself to be superior to Arjuna. Throughout his life, he had been burning that someone give me an opportunity to prove that I am superior to Arjuna. And he knew this person can take my side and put me face to face with Arjuna, and then I will defeat Arjuna and show that I am superior. If that were not the case, he would not have denied fighting with Bhishma as the commander in chief. So, which is clear that he didn't want victory of Duryodhan, but he wanted his own trumpet to be blown. So, and similarly, Bhishma came there not out of love and respect. Bhishma came because of allegiance to the throne. Similarly, Drona had Drupad to be defeated, who was on the other side. So we see here that people who were there on Kaurava's side, they were people who had their own agendas, whereas Pandavas had genuine people along with them. So that's very important that so what I would summarize is, it's not denied. Use of diplomacy is not denied, but it should be done sparingly. Ideally, we should be in the quadrant 1, where we use truth as a tool to attain truth as a purpose. But then sometimes we should be aware that there are situations of protecting your life, protecting your marriage, protecting your wealth, or a situation where you need to safeguard interests of others from a diplomatic person, from a duplicitous person. At that point of time, you can venture into quadrant 2, but only when your purpose is greater than the lie as a tool, right? So therefore, these are some thoughts, Jai Kishan, on when to be diplomatic and how much.
Wow, you've given us a beautiful quadrant, Prabhu, where we ideally should be. And speaking of truth as a tool and lie as a purpose, what interestingly struck me is the use of advertisement, where in the garb of exploitation, people choose to, the companies, your big corporates spend millions on exploiting people in the garb of empowerment, where the youth or a specific gender or a specific class of people are being given a picture of their sufferings, their traumas, what society, what sufferings they happen to face in the society, but with an agenda of making more profits out of it. So that really hit me hard, hypocrisy. But yes, the quadrant that you gave, and Prabhu has given us only 3 instances where 3 things are at stake: wealth, marriage, and life. Please don't add a fourth or a 5th one to this. So thank you, Prabhu, for beautifully explaining how diplomatic we should be, and the blend between being honest and speaking a lie. I can see there are many comments, questions coming our way. But at this stage, Prabhu, I'd like to ask you, what happens next on the battlefield? We are at an interesting juncture जहाँ pep talk दिया हुआ है, सबको उकसाया गया है. Drona, Bhishma, they've all been kind of pumped up. Yes. What happens next?
Okay, so yeah, as answering the question of Dhritarashtra, Sanjay answers that this is what your son Duryodhana did. What did my sons do? This is what your son did, and which probably made Dhritarashtra feel proud that acha diplomat, acha. Although we have now understood what diplomacy should be about, but then Dhritarashtra thought that acha politician hai mera beta. So then, now what happens next is, because Duryodhana has really put everyone on the edge, ki now you all should mad arthe tyakta jivita. So in fact, Duryodhana tells that you see all of these warriors, they are all ready to give up their lives for my sake. So he has declared like this. So you can think what kind of a leader is Duryodhana. who is kind of not even the least bothered about loss of life. Whereas we will see Arjuna later on, who is completely confused that how can I, for my sake, see any loss of life of others. So you can see the contrast between Duryodhana and Arjuna. So anyhow, that Duryodhana has given this pep talk and urged everyone to lay out their lives for him. So Bhishma said, enough here. बस अभी और मत बोलना कि जान के आगे भी और कुछ दो, अब मेरा अपना धर्म दे दो, ये दे दो. So Bhishma simply took a conch shell, his own conch, and started blowing it so loud to increase the confidence of Duryodhana. Why? Because Bhishma could sense that although he is externally appearing to be in command, in control, and speaking, commanding everyone to do whatever he wants them to do, but internally he's very frail, he's very insecure. So let me boost this grandchild's पोते का थोड़ा confidence बढ़ाता हूँ. So मुझे पता है हारना तो है, इसको मरना तो है, but still let me pull up his confidence. So Bhishma blows the conch shell so loudly to increase the confidence of Duryodhana. And then Devadatta, Rishikesh, so then Arjuna, Krishna, and all of them also, they start blowing their conch shells. What is that? There's this verse which says that Arjuna blew Devadatta, Krishna blew his conch shell. What is that name of that conch? Panchajanya, Rishikeshu, right? So, and then Ananta Vijaya, Yudhishthira Maharaj blew Ananta Vijaya, and then Sughosha, Mani Pushpaka, Nakula Sahadev, they blew Sughosha and Mani Pushpaka. So like this, when all the Pandavas, they blew their conch shell, Hridayani Vridarayat, that the hearts of the Kauravas were shattered with insecurity and fear. So here is something very amusing and interesting. So although the armies of the Pandavas were smaller, it was like 11:7 ratio, which is like 2/3 of the Kauravas, but the conch shell sound of the Pandavas was much louder than the Kauravas, and the conch shell sound of the Pandavas was more confident and more tumultuous than the Kauravas. So this is something very interesting, and this also has something to do with battle psychology. So there was this Chinese army general called Sun Tzu. So he was a great army general, and he wrote a book which is called Art of War in the 5th century BC. So practically 3,500 years back, he wrote this book called Art of War. And in this book, he has given beautiful principles of when to go ahead for a war and how to do a war. So he says, the best warrior is someone who defeats the opponent without even starting the battle. Who is the best warrior? Who has the power to defeat the opponent even before starting the battle. So that could be through conciliation, through Sam, Dam, Danda, whatever. Use something to defeat the opponent even without or before starting the battle. And he says wars are fought, wars are won before even being fought. Victorious warriors win first and then enter the battlefield, whereas defeated warriors, they go first to the battlefield and then seek to win, then think how I can win. So therefore, he says that winning a war is about planning and confidence. If you have proper planning and proper confidence, then half the battle is already won. And so this was a battlefield between virtue and vice. And all of us, drawing in from the Mahabharata, all of us are having our own battlefields where we have to fight against vice. Vice from people around us, vice at our office, at our college. There are propagandas. There are people trying to win over the truth and the virtue within us. कि एक पैग लगाने में क्या होता है, बच्चा है क्या तू? So there is a battle going on कि you are being too traditional. अरे तू बहनजी है क्या? ये क्या बहनजी जैसे घूम रही है सलवार सूट में, थोड़ा पहन यार ऐसा वैसा. So we have our battlefield, all of us, where even before the battle begins, the conch shell sound. तो किसका डंका ज्यादा जोर से बज रहा है, किसका शंख ज्यादा जोर से बज रहा है, उसकी जीत आधी वहीं हो जाती है. So many times in this age of propaganda, जो विशियस लोगों का जो कॉन्शियल है, विशियस लोगों का जो शंख है, वो इतना जोर से बजता है कि जो शरीफ लोग होते हैं ना, वो घर में जाके छुप जाते हैं. They go into a hideout and they restrict themselves to their small tiny space where they practice their spirituality, where they practice their righteousness, and they don't expose themselves because उनको डर है कि if I appear religious and righteous, then people will make fun of me. तो वो अपना कॉन्शियल को छुपा के रख देते हैं, बजाते ही नहीं है. Whereas those who are vicious, वो इतनी जोर जोर से अपना डंका बजाते हैं, शंख बजाते हैं कि देखो, this is cool, this is the way to go, this is fashionable. Whatever you are doing is unfashionable and obsolete and it's useless. So effectively, either those who are righteous, they lose confidence in their practices, they think that something is wrong with them or what they are doing, or they do it but half-heartedly or do it in a concealed, secretive way. But who suffers? The society suffers, because it is said that the problem with the society is not that there are sinful people, vicious people, who are propagating their lies. The problem with the society is the virtuous and the righteous people, they don't come out to tell the truth. So that is a greater issue. So therefore, we need to, those who are righteous, they need to become confident about their practices. They need to be confident about the principles. They need to have faith in the principles that they are following in life. Because if you don't stand up for the truth, then you have to hide down in the basement. So it's our responsibility to stand up for the truth. If you don't stand for something, you fall for everything. So yeah, we need to stand up for what our beliefs are, and let our convictions be so strong that other people who are vicious, they become confused, they become doubtful on their own practices कि शायद मैं कुछ गलत तो नहीं कर रहा हूँ, rather than the other way around, that we become fearful and doubtful. We should know that the lie knows that it cannot stand truth in direct battle, in direct combat, just as darkness knows that it has no chance in front of the sun. मतलब सूरज, मतलब जैसे इस डार्कनेस ऐसा नहीं बोल सकता कि मैं इतना अपने आप को बढ़ा लूंगी कि अंधकार को इतना बढ़ा लूंगी कि सूरज को खा जाऊं. No, as soon as there is even one ray of sun, the darkness is extinguished. So therefore, one-to-one combat mein darkness can never win against knowledge and light. So therefore, darkness and sin or viciousness, they use all of this propaganda machinery to somehow or other create fog, to somehow create cloud to cover the sun. But it is a responsibility of each one of us to make the sun rise, to make the sun of truth rise, because as soon as the sun of truth rises, all the doubts and misconceptions will be dispelled. Otherwise, what happens is a lie spoken loud enough and long enough is accepted as truth. And if there are enough people to accept that lie, then that lie becomes a culture or fashion. And if there are enough, and if that lie is carried over from one generation to another, that lie becomes a tradition. And then you have people born in that tradition based on the foundation of lies and false propaganda. And people are born in a particular tradition, and then they say, "Ki, this is the way to live. These are my rights. These are things based on which everything should work out." So therefore, we should put lie on the back foot rather than ourselves going on the back foot. So otherwise, the default setting of the society is that you are supposed to give an explanation if you don't drink. You are supposed to give an explanation if you don't eat meat. You are supposed to give an explanation if you don't indulge in illicit relationships. Why in the world do the righteous people only have to offer explanations? Because we haven't come out of our hiding and blown the conch shells of truth. Because we want to just ring our bells in our hideouts. We don't want to stand for the truth. Until the time we don't stand up for the truth, we will have to keep on offering these explanations, which are very tiring and sickening, right? And we are supposed to tender apologies कि हमारे superstitious beliefs है. Actually, you need more faith, you need more blind faith to be an atheist than to be a devotee. वो बोलते हैं कि अरे भक्त मतलब तो एकदम सेंटिमेंटल है जी, ये लोग तो बहुत मतलब भावुक हैं, ये तो गो भक्त हैं, अरे गाय तो एक जानवर है, इसमें क्या है, गाय की इतनी रक्षा, ये तो हिंदू सेंटिमेंटल लोग हैं. But basically, because we have not stood up for the truth, we are on the back foot. We have the burden of evidence on our side. So we are on the burden we have to give the evidence to prove that we are, following the right path. It's never the other way around. So let's turn the tide. Let's ourselves, confront propaganda face to face and stand up for what we believe in. And as Mohitji said, bhakti needs shakti, the conch shell, loud and long. So we need to tell the truth loud enough and long enough to make it a culture and pass it on to the next generation as tradition.
Wow, Prabhu. That was indeed a very, very powerful and impactful pep talk that you've given us. I mean, the highlight here is when you said, if you don't stand up for something, you will fall for everything. And that simply puts everything into perspective as to why you need to, even the good people need to stand up. Many a times, as you said, we are there softly doing our stuff in solitude. We need to come out there. We need to stand up for what we believe in. And at this juncture, Prabhu, I have a few comments coming our way. Yes, there are some questions, and okay. There is a question by Guru Bhakti. I guess this will be taken up in the further sessions. This is a topic that will be taken up. You say, Prabhu? Where
question
Krishna says that don't disturb the faithless and the ones in ignorance. So this,
this is relevant actually for the discussion that we are having, especially with respect to the conch shells and standing up for the truth. So basically, when we speak of that faithless, we should understand that when Krishna is speaking of the faithless, they don't have faith in the higher system, but they have faith in the lower system, which is approved by the Vedas, right? And they don't have the adhikar or the qualifications to accept the higher principles. So their adhikar and their qualifications are meant only for putting faith in the lower principle, right? So we should not shake up their faith from the lower principle, which is approved by the Vedas. Right. For example, someone who is very addicted to, say, so let me give you an example of Narad Muni. So when Narad Muni came across this Mrigari hunter. So what does Narad Muni see? That this Mrigari is half killing animals. वो आधा ही मार रहा है. वो देख रहे हैं कि एक पक्षी आधा मरा हुआ है, फड़फड़ा रहा है. एक हिरण आधा मरा हुआ है, फड़फड़ा रहा है. So then he comes to Mrigari and says, अरे तुम इनको मतलब why don't you kill them fully? And this is the question which Narad Muni asks. So someone who takes this conversation out of context, he may say that, "Arey, a saint is telling, why don't you kill animals?" It may appear like this, ki, why are you not killing these animals? The deer, इनको पूरा क्यों नहीं मार देते? When you see this, the adhikar, all the context of Mrigari, you know that, अरे ये व्यक्ति आधा मार रहा है और he is giving so much of, inflicting so much pain on these animals. The next step for him is to not that Narad Muni should advise him ki don't kill any animals. It incurs so much sin. There's so much of violence. They are suffering. वो उसको नहीं समझ में आएगा. But Narad Muni is trying to bring him to the next step of the ladder. अच्छा, तुम मारो, पूरा मारो. मारना है तो पूरा मारो. Because he cannot jump in to the higher knowledge. So therefore, Narad Muni is understanding sensitivity to the qualification of Mrigari is trying to raise him further, right? But so therefore, when we are presenting, the truth to others, we should present it sensitively. So we should present in a way, in a way that others can digest. If we use our lingo to present the truth, that okay, why do I not eat or drink? So I don't drink because so if you tell them कि नहीं इससे पाप लगता है, so they will say, अरे this person is superstitious. वास्तव में पाप लगता है by engaging in the sinful activities, and not only you accumulate sin, but you also become sinful. You accumulate sinful tendencies because intoxication leads to animal slaughter, and then both of them together leads to illicit sex. So what you are saying is true, but the other person is not on the level to grasp this. So present it in a way that okay, that they can appreciate, they can understand. You can tell them that my choice, just as it is your choice, so I choose to not be controlled by this, because I have other, I can be high forever with spiritual knowledge, with spiritual wisdom. So why do I go high and then come back down? So present it in a way which they can appreciate. So yes.
Prabhu, there's one more question that comes here. How do we get strength to stand in front of vicious people? Where do we get the strength from?
From the sun. How do I get the strength to stand in front of darkness? If you have the sun with you, the darkness is gone before even, blowing the conch shell. Even before the word go, you will find it has disappeared. So what is the sun? When we are basking in the sunlight of the Bhagavatam, the Gita, and devotees, people who are practicing spiritual life in a sincere way, and when we have that sun in our life, then we have that confidence because we know it works. The best proof of the pudding is in eating. So if you have got nourished, if you have got transformed by spiritual knowledge and spiritual values, then you don't care what others in the world believe, because you have got personal experience, right? And no one can beat that confidence which you get by your personal experience. So we need to first of all experience the sun in our life, and with that confidence of having the sun, wherever we go, people automatically people will catch the vibes कि भाई इस बंदे को ज्यादा कुछ पूछना नहीं है, let him do what he wants to do. let him or her do what they want to do, because they really know what they are doing. When people, because they can sense the psychological energy, the conviction. If they sense ki arey he is half-heartedly doing it, so then they will say ki chalo main apna let me try my dice to get him to my side, right? And if they see that अरे भैया ये इसका कबड्डी इतना स्ट्रांग है ना कि ये मुझे खींच लेगा, वो बोलेंगे भाई आप खुश रहो जो भी कर रहे हो, मेरे को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आपसे, right? So we need to experience the sun in our life, and then we can get the courage to stand up to vicious people. And also some smartness is also needed, which comes by reflecting and introspecting on what we hear and what we see in this world. So it's an evolution. So what we hear, let us take a note and try to apply tomorrow. And one by one, when we apply all those things, then gradually we will get realizations on these subjects.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for answering that. There are few more questions coming in the chat box, but I'd request all our viewers, members of our audience, to please keep the questions relevant to today's discussion, to our discussion, to the topic today, and any questions that are coming our way, which will be answered in the future sessions, will be taken up accordingly. I'm taking a note of all the questions that are being posted, so rest assured they will be answered. And Prabhu, even I have a very big question coming, but I'll keep it for the next session, because my question is, what happens next? But that I'll keep that suspense. And do you want to say anything to our viewers before we wind up today's session, or do you want to take any other questions? Or
let us see if relevant to the discussion. Yes, so Mansi, she has got homework to share the notes. So
people
yes,
have taken note of her act of writing down notes, so she's on duty.
So thank you so much, Mansi, for doing that for us. And you can take a scan and share with us. We'll post it. So I see there is a question which says that integrity means our values, words and actions are in the same line. How to develop this integrity, since we give a lot of excuses when we cannot accomplish things. Manasi ekam, vachasi ekam, karmani ekam, mahatmana, manasi anyat, vachasi anyat, karmani anyat, duratmana. So in the Vayu Purana, there's this verse where a person whose mind, whose thought, words and actions are in alignment is a Mahatma. Where someone whose thoughts, words and actions are thinking something, saying something, and doing something else is a Duratma. So yes, integrity is very essential to gain trust from people, but integrity is more important for ourselves to be peaceful. Why? Because as we discussed, you cannot keep a lie for a life. Somewhere down the line, our memory gives way, right? So the best policy, they say, is honesty. It's not a policy; it's a principle. And so when we align our thoughts, words, and actions, then life becomes very simple and easy and peaceful, right? So at least consciously, we should try to emulate this quality of integrity, because by default, the default setting which we may all have been carrying from our previous lives is that to get away with a lie, to get away by covering up the situation. But we don't want to live like that forever. We want to change our wiring to align ourselves to truth. When we are saying we are devotees of the absolute truth, when we are followers of Krishna, the absolute truth, then at least truth should reflect in all our dealings. thoughts, words, and actions. Otherwise, there's a mismatch, as is evident. So, so we need to consciously work on it. It doesn't happen automatically. The default setting is that we may find it easier and more convenient to settle for manipulating, but then we should know what are the benefits of being honest and having integrity for ourselves and for relationships, right? And so by default, we should try to wire ourselves so that we act in terms of integrity. And then we also understand, based on our discussion today, that a mother should not shy away from putting a medicine in a laddu for the good of the child, right? So we should also be smart enough to know that there are certain situations where, to save life, to save situations, save marriage, or for wealth, you may need to adjust a smaller principle for a bigger principle, to adjust a smaller truth to tell a small lie for a bigger truth, right? So that is also integrity, because you are aligning yourself to the bigger truth. So I guess that's what.
Yes, that precisely throws light on and gives perspective to what how do we use the principles in our lives. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for this wonderful session. And there is a suspense. Let's keep it for the next session. And thank you, Prabhu. Thank you once again for sharing us beautiful details on how to use honesty and how to be diplomatic, how much to be diplomatic, and most importantly, why to be diplomatic. Thank you, Prabhu, for this wonderful and insightful session. See you all, and see you, Prabhu, next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And the Gita has unlimited, reflections, unlimited wisdom waiting for us in each and every verse. We are just scratching the surface, and so much is coming out. And because time is of essence, so we are not going into detail into every verse, but we are just jumping from one section of the Gita to another. So we have done 3 sections so far. The first section, where Dhritarashtra inquires about what happens in the battlefield. The second section, where Duryodhan, his trickery and his diplomacy is being shown. And the third section, where the conch shells are being blown. So these are the 3 sections we have covered. And there's a lot more if you would go into each verse, but we'll keep that for future. Maybe we'll have a 3-year program for that, but for now I think this is good. And there's a lot coming in the future sections, because now we are closing in to Krishna and Arjun. So that's where all the wisdom is. Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.